And that's actually a perfect example because I remember at T Nation, they did and do supersets A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, whatever. And there was a little bit of pushback with a couple of coaches.
Not have it the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. 100% yes. People had said, it's number then letter. That's how you do lists. That's how you do things. But how Style said, no, it's A1, it's first exercise, A2, second exercise.
Chris Colucci and Shane McLean here at the Right Spotters. And today we're going to dive into a subject that's little known, but also very important for being editor friendly, editors reading your work, and also just getting published on these big time websites. We're going to be talking about house style. Now, it's not like we're not talking about steak or beer or anything like that. Basically, what we're talking about with house style is how to format your article according to their website's kind of rules or guidelines. So it saves the editor time, and then it saves you time because the editor is going to be bothering you to go back and change it. Now, I had a huge learning curve at Barbend when it came to house style. Chris was the editor of two websites that were chalk and cheese from each other, T Nation and Breaking Muscle. So we're going to go into a little bit about house style, how it affects the way you write your articles, and if you're looking to get published on sites that have a certain house style, it pays to know that house style. Isn't that right, Chris?
It is. It definitely is. House style is almost like house rules of how their content is going to appear visually on the page, and also how it's going to sound tonally, like their brand voice, their site voice, like the references you might get away with using, the terminology is certain exercises, certain exercise names, certain spelling issues. It's almost like, have you ever played Monopoly and ruined your family dynamic? It's different houses, different homes have some different house rules for Monopoly. Yeah. Like you only collect $200 when you get out of jail or something. Like you only collect the pot when you get, like, little itty bitty rules that are just unique to each place you go. So like Shane said, when I was at T Nation, which is Testosterone Nation, they had a very particular brand voice and a site voice, and their articles sounded a certain way. Back in the mid 2000s, 2010s ish, like they would refer to T Vixens and T Men, which is a different thing now. So they stopped doing that. It was hyper masculine. It's what has now been called toxic masculinity, but it's another can of worms. We're not talking about that. Yeah. They were very aggressive in their phrasing of certain things, and they knew that they were top of the pack or towards the top of the pack, and their readers were relatively experienced. So we talked about delt striations and things like that were relatively advanced. At Breaking Muscle, it was much more beginner friendly. We didn't expect that readers necessarily were familiar with the gym. So we changed the wording a lot of times. We were a little bit more inclusive of models used in photographs, plus size models, people of color, things like that. Get into politics, whatever. We're not talking that right now.
Yeah, but no, I gotcha.
Right. So it's the look of the site, the way the articles sound, the way they deliver the same information. Deadlift articles on both sites are going to tell you how to deadlift, but it'll get that information across different ways that'll click with different types of readers. Does that make sense?
Oh God, that makes total sense. And when we were, before we came on and we're discussing house style, I was forgetting about the language part. Now the language part, that's huge, right? Because the language you use basically attracts a certain type of audience. Like you said with T Nation, it was very masculine. So you could use those type of terminology, so to speak, like muscle serrations and all that kind of fancy ass stuff. And the readers would just like lap that all up, because that's the way they talk, and that's the way they talk in the gym, and that's the way they talk to each other. And same with, like you said, with breaking muscles, it was a little bit more inclusive, but I still thought breaking muscles still pretty much had a high intelligent readership than probably T-Nation. But that's just me. But yes, the language that you use in your articles will definitely change between sites, like you said.
It does. And it's the words you choose to get your idea across. And even something as particular as like spelling and like I said, exercise names. I know breaking muscle, and this applies to all sites. All professional sites are going to have a style guide. They're going to have a way that says, you know, this is how we do it so our content looks consistent and polished and professional. Like at Breaking Muscle and Barbend also, part of the style guide addressed how exercises were named. Is it a barbell flat bench press, or is it a flat barbell bench press? Like, that matters in terms of big picture consistency, because if you read it one way in one article and the next chest article you read, it's something different, you might not notice, but you might. And if you do notice, it'll put a little itch in your head, like, why? It's the same thing, right? Is it the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing. That's why it's consistent. You avoid that issue. So exercise names, like we've talked about before, tricep push downs versus tricep press downs. That might vary site to site, but it's the same exercise, right? So exercise names and also exercise spelling. I've been doing a little writing for mensfitness.com, and they don't hyphenate pull-up, which is unusual to me. And I might disagree with it. I'm not going to tell Matt. But
yeah, that's weird.
It's unusual, but it's you know, it's their house, their rules. I want to keep writing. If I include a hyphen in pull-up every time, then my editor is going to change it every time, and it's going to become an annoyance. It's not professional for me to ignore the style guide and try to do things my way on their site. I've got to do things their way. That's the whole point of being on their site. This is if you're getting published. If you're writing your own content and your own social media, your own blog, your own Substack, your own newsletter, develop your own style guide for sure. Do things your way, however you want. That's your house. You run it however you want. This is when you go to get published on other people's property.
Or even when you pitch, right? If you're pitching your article to a website, it helps to write it in their style, right?
It definitely does.
The submission is more likely to be accepted if you figure out their house rules.
Right. Well, and it'll show that if they don't have to tell you ahead of time, and they see that you're doing things the right way, that what they consider is the right way, that'll show up. That's like acing a job interview. You know, it's doing a little extra homework so that you look like you belong in the place you want to appear. You know, act as if.
We've talked about this before here in the Right Spotters, is that if you really want to find out about house rules, read the site, read a lot of articles, and take note of the way they do things. I mean, it really is that simple, right? And then you take a stab at it, and then they'll go, well, that's great. You seem to have got it. But I think it's more the effort more than the result. If you seem to be making an effort to fall in line with their house rules, even though you kind of don't know their house rules, then if you're pitching, you're more likely to be accepted, and if you're writing an article for them, you're more likely to be editor friendly.
Yes, it's doing your homework. It's reading the site you want to appear on so that you know what they're expecting, and you can give them what they're expecting before they even ask for it. You know, it's makes you look like that much more of a professional, right?
It does.
It also makes your work professional if you have a newsletter that goes out twice a month or once a month, whatever. You should be following a template or some type of style guide so that your newsletter looks the same time after time.
It does.
So that your subscribers aren't surprised or confused if 1 month you have an exercise of the month and then the next newsletter comes out and there's no exercise of the month. Well, I thought that was a feature. I liked that feature. I was looking forward to it. So have your stuff be consistent.
People don't like change, really. I mean, when it comes down to it, right? People don't like change. When they expect a certain thing a certain way, and it's not that way, they're put out, right? And if we're talking about you, like your newsletters, like you said, or your Substack or whatever, if you go completely off tangent to what you usually do, people are going to notice, right? Some people will like it, but most won't.
Yeah.
But again, that'll be my experience.
Well, that's, you have a lot of experience to draw from, because with your blog, like, I know you have your motivational pieces that you blog about, and you have your instructional pieces. So if you change that format and you decide to go 3 months straight just doing exercise instructions, you're going to lose a bunch of readers who have come to count on seeing that motivational content. Or vice versa. If you just go the self-help route and do all motivational stuff and stop talking exercise on your blog, you're going to lose a lot of readers, because that's what they showed up for. That's what they want to learn from you.
Yeah.
So,
and that's true. The thing with house style, and particularly because you've worked for T-Nation and Breaking Muscle, and they're completely different. I've written for Barbend and now writing for Muscle and Fitness, and their Muscle and Fitness don't really have a style because they're so well known and they're so iconic. They don't even care about SEO because they know people are going to read their stuff, right? But then on the other hand, Barbend was extremely SEO focused with the keywords and with the headings and subheadings and a certain amount of hyperlinks. And so was Garage Gym Reviews. Garage Gym Reviews were like hyper focused on SEO, and I also felt when I was writing for either site that being so SEO focused, it probably took a little bit away from the quality of the content, because you're having to manipulate the words you were saying, right? So it didn't sound as good. Oh, it sounded great to Google, but probably really not to the reader. And that's the kind of stuff that you pick up when you read their site.
it is, yes. It's writing with SEO first and foremost in mind. It's a skill, first of all. SEO writing is a skill to itself. And it can be a little bit counterintuitive and almost unnatural from like creative type writing, because you do want to hit those keywords early and often. You do want to use, strong hyperlinks and things like that. So writing with SEO in mind, or for a good search engine presence, can influence how you write. Different sites are going to do it differently. Muscle and Fitness has the legacy of being Muscle and Fitness, so it's good to be king.
Yeah, right. So to speak.
Yeah. Like at T-Nation, that wasn't necessarily the biggest priority, but at Breaking Muscle, because we were actually bringing the site back from being dormant for years and years, that was a huge focus on building SEO and getting good SEO grabs and attention from the Google machine.
When you were at Breaking Muscle, when keeping what you just said in mind, did you find that some guys who are established writers for Breaking Muscle would struggle with that?
Somewhat. It depends on if they've been writing for a long time. They generally have gotten the handle on how to incorporate like keywords, which are just like the words that the article is about. Like if you're writing the best biceps exercises, it's going to be biceps and curls and arm workout. Those are going to be like big keywords, things like that. A lot of times with like newer or inexperienced writers, you can kind of mold them as they go, give them some guidelines. And again, as an editor, you can polish it up after the fact, either by tweaking what they've written, by plugging in or fleshing out some parts. It's doable. It's fixable.
Yeah, and it's the same with, because like when you went from from T-Nation to Breaking Muscle, Breaking Muscle pretty much had the same kind of house style as Barbend, because obviously Barbend brought Breaking Muscle. So with all those headlines and sub-headlines and so on and so forth, did you also find that some writers would struggle with that, not picking up the new style, so to speak?
Not really, because one thing I was surprised and I really liked with Breaking Muscle and also Barbend is they use a lot of article templates. So
That's what
when
I'm
I
talking about, the template. Yeah, that's what I'm
right.
talking about.
So if I brought in if I gave an assignment to a writer about, I need a treadmill workout, we had a template for a workout program template. So I would send it to them. It has the title goes here, two paragraph introduction, header one, header two, paragraph, bullet point. So it was almost like a plug and play, which I thought made it a lot easier for the writer, because you don't have to think; you just have to fill in the sections. It's like a paint by number, and most people can handle a paint by number.
Yeah.
Right, without going outside the lines. So
You
I
know
think
what?
that
You know what I did? So when I didn't, I mean, I didn't struggle writing to a template, but I didn't always do it, I would say, 100% correctly.
you were
I
fine.
started I started just writing like that on my own side.
Mhm.
So practice,
Yeah.
right? And that's probably a good tip for the watchers out there. If you want to get published on a certain site and you see the way they do things on a house style and you have your own website, start writing like that on your site.
Yeah,
Right?
that's one really.
Start getting the feel for what it looks like and how it feels like until it becomes like automatic. And when you're pitching to them or you're getting published with them, your submissions are more likely to be accepted, and then obviously you're going to be editor friendly because you've got it because you've been practicing it on your own site.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great tip to just learn, even in like fiction writing and things like that. If you just type out, retype word for word, character for character, like a story or 10 pages of a story or 5 pages of a story that somebody else has written, like find a James Patterson novel, whatever, or a Mark Twain short story, and type it out, plagiarize it, because you're not publishing it. It's all right. You're just typing it. You're learning the craft, and you'll see how they break up paragraphs, how they use punctuation. Edgar Allan Poe could go a full paragraph without using a period. It's all dashes and hyphens and commas
It is too, isn't it? Yeah. I haven't read any of his stuff, but my son has. But yeah, I got that part. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you type it out, you'll be surprised at like, how does he do this? What the hell? And you can do that also with any site. Go to a site you want to appear on, go to Muscle and Fitness, go to Garage Gym Reviews and type out a article that's been posted and try and match the format. And you'll see they did this headline, then they did this many paragraphs. Each paragraph is this many sentences. They did this big of an introduction. They did a conclusion here. You type it out, you'll get the skill work. You'll build that muscle memory almost, which is a familiar term to us.
Point. Yeah, that's a really good point expanded on what I just said. That's an excellent idea. I wish I had thought of that. That would have made it a lot easier if I did that. Yeah, it is like what we're saying is obviously a little bit of work, and because we've said before that writing, it's fun, but it's still work, and we still have to do it, even though we don't really want to do it or we're not motivated to do it. But doing things like Chris suggested, I think that's a fantastic idea. And also, if you're struggling to come up with ideas or you're struggling to generate your own type of content, doing something like that would also give you that spark, because you go, oh, I think I could do that better. Oh yeah, I think I could do that better. I often read when editors would send me articles to write, and they would send me articles that were written like that as a guideline for what they wanted, and I'd read it and I'd go, I can do better than that. But to do better than that, you first have to understand what that is, and understand what it is just by reading that work, and or what you said is just typing out a whole article.
It's putting the work in. It's a good use of your time. If you want to become a better writer, that would be a very good use of a day. Just typing out something that's been published, that's been accepted for a site you want to appear on, and learning how to type an article the way they want it typed. Right? You'll pick up, references and exercise names, and okay, they call it a rack position, they call it a Olympic rack position, whatever. You'll get little tweaks like that as you go.
Yeah, because we've talked about that before. It's like consistency, right? It's not only about readability, and readability is great, right, with all the headlines and sub-headlines and using all that but consistency. So you're reading an article, and all the exercise names are written the same way. And when you write a workout, say a tricep, you go 1A, 1B, 1C, that kind of stuff as well. I mean, I'm big on that. Doing those kind of things really pay off. I remember, because that was just second nature to me to write, say, a circuit workout, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F, and whatever like that. I remember a dude called Will Levy. He was a coach in Australia. He goes, Shane, I like the way you work that workout. People don't write it like that. And it was just, to me, that was just the way you write it, right? But little things like that kind of count when it comes to consistency as well.
It does. And that's actually a perfect example, because I remember at T Nation, they did and do supersets A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, whatever. And there was a little bit of pushback with a couple of coaches.
You don't have it the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yes. People had said, it's number then letter. That's how you do lists. That's how you do things. But House Style said, no, it's A1 is first exercise, A2 second exercise.
A3. So that's just confusing right there, right?
Their rules. That's House Style.
Yeah, right.
And that's a perfect example. Great point you brought up. That's a very detail focused way that you could tell an editor whether or not you've been paying attention to their site.
Yeah,
do you do things the way they do them? Period.
Again, we've talked about the little things like that matter. But when you, like you said, when you say spend a day writing out an article from a site and the way they do things, and if you start writing like that on your own site, or just practice writing like that for your own benefit and knock out some articles on a Word doc, the more you practice, the better you get, right? It took me probably 6 or 7, 8 years for it to be automatic like that. And as you know, Chris, I write a lot. It does take time, and patience is your friend, right? But to get better at the skill, you practice the skill, right? You're going to make some mistakes and you're going to make some errors, and then you just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and do better.
I love it. I like that. But that's what we're used to. That, like, have you ever done a kettlebell snatch? Have you smashed your forearm with the kettlebell when it flips over?
God. Oh,
you learn it. That's how you learn. You learn, and it fucking hurts. It hurts when you do it wrong, but eventually it hurts less when you do it more right. It's the same thing. If you put in the practice, you get better at the thing you're practicing. If you don't practice it, it's going to keep hurting, and it's going to be ugly. It's not going to be smooth and effective, whether that's writing or kettlebells or battle ropes, whatever.
Right. Right. It can apply across. Now, I'm finding out we should bring that up. So I'm currently reading Lean and Strong by Josh Hillis, and I think it's just an absolutely fantastic book. But he goes into talking about his big thing is eating skills, rather than, it's not what you eat, it's the way you eat it. And he has a whole bunch of eating skills, and basically that's all he talks about in that book is practice, right? He says practice. When you practice at the edge of your skill level, you're more likely to keep going, because if it's too easy, you get bored. If it's too hard, you'll quit, right? And it's the same thing with writing. You just practice at the edge of your skill level, and when you do that, you're going to push that boundary. You're going to get better, right? Because you're not trying to jump and say, write like Lee Boyce, right, or Roger Lockridge, and then fall way short and quit. You're going to kind of write at the edge of your skill level, and then when you do and you keep doing it over and over again, your skill's just going to get better. It's not only just with doing a hard exercise like a kettlebell snatch, but it's the same deal with with writing good quality fitness content.
Definitely. I love that idea.
Yeah, you should read that book. It's really good.
What is it? It's Lean and Strong by Josh Hill.
Yeah, he wrote it 4 years ago, but man, it's good. Okay. Man, I mean, I'm not plugging the book. I'm not getting anything from it. Anybody? And me and Josh are friends. And I told him everything that I'm saying on this now. I've already talked to him about how much I love his book. But yeah, practicing at the edge of your skill level is is really great advice that he gives in that book.
Perfect. That's perfect. And one way to practice is not just writing for fun or for practice, but with every social media post you make, with every newsletter post or blog post or Substack post you make, presuming you have those in place. Everything you write is a chance to practice your writing. So develop your own style for your captions on your social media, on your, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever. If you're on like a short form text app like Blue Sky or Threads or X, any place you're writing stuff, develop your own style, develop the way, maybe it feels natural for you to not hyphenate pull up. I can think you're wrong, but it doesn't matter. It's your house. It's your rules. I'll still read it. That's fine.
It's like a piece of steak stuck between your teeth that you can't get out, isn't it?
I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna get yelled at. I'm gonna stop talking about it. Like, no more articles from Colucci. So everything you write, wherever it appears, you're writing it. You're literally writing it. So you can practice your writing. You can build your own style. And when it comes, if you decide to get published on a website, then it's a matter of blending your style with the house style, which is a kind of a separate issue, but it's, house style rules. House style trumps all. Mm-hmm. You fit your personality to their style. That's it.
Yeah.
So make sure you seize the opportunity anytime you're writing anything, anywhere. I used to get made fun of for using punctuation in instant messages when instant messages were a thing. Like, you use periods and commas and we're just IMing. Yeah. Like, I'm writing. Why not?
I correct my text messages.
Yes.
I'm bad. Even when I make a mistake in, say, a social media post, I'm back in there and I'm editing it to make sure it's better. That's just natural to me that it has to look right.
Well, it is, because it's you. Yeah, you're putting it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's the big picture that we're just drilling home, is that pay attention to style, pay attention to the outlet you want to appear on, and learn their style and match it, because it'll give you a leg up. It'll tell your editor that you're serious, that you're a professional writer, if that's what you want to be. And you probably do, because you're listening to us.
Yeah, right. You'd be foolish. You'd be really foolish not to. So much fun.
It is. It is. So what? I think we covered a bunch. I think we covered out.
I think we're good.
Yeah, we covered house style. House style includes anything from formatting the way the article visually looks to the meat and potatoes of the spelling and the detail work and the exercise names and things like that. That's a house style. That's a style guide for each individual site. It's going to vary site to site. So know where you want your stuff to appear, where you are hopeful to appear, and pay attention to it and match it. And you'll be that much more likely to get your work published there.
As a nice little incentive for our watchers here. So if you email us at therightspotters@gmail.com, I will send you some templates on how I write some exercise fitness type articles so you can start practicing.
Perfect. Free stuff. I had a manager used to say, if you're free, it's for me. So we got free stuff for you. Send an email.
If like it, you'll like it too.
It's fine. I mean, that's win. That's, it's been published. It works. It's reliable.
Yeah, like I said, if you're interested in what we're talking about here, I'll be happy to share with you some article templates that I use and that I feel that works. And then you can practice what we're talking about.
And wait, where would I get those templates, Shane?
You get them at the rightspotters@gmail.com. And also you can message us on Instagram at the Right Spotters, and we're also on Facebook at the Right Spotters as well. And we're at the rightspotters.com as well. We are absolutely everywhere. You have no excuse but to contact us.
I concur. All right. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks a lot.